Master Key of to Riches, NepolianHill, Think and Grow Rich. Self-discipline. The man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of everything else to which he is justly entitled. After the morning discussion of the law of cosmic habit force, the conference participants will energize changing one's habits. Seemed like such wise advice for those who wanted to attain success. As they shuffled into the lunchroom, participants realized that it would be the last time they might be in each other's company. The week had provided some fast friends and many talking of forming mastermind groups of their own so that they could continue to help each other work towards their life goals. Someone brought up the fact that the conference would end and still no one would ever know the secret identity of the distinguished gentleman. At that moment, a young man walked into the room waving a sheet of paper. I have it. I know who this distinguished gentleman is, and I'm going to have this identity published in tomorrow's paper. Many gathered with this young man. In fact, a young reporter who had just spoken. Several clamored around, the young man begging him to reveal the secret, but he had passed. No way am I going to ruin this scoop. Instead, he walked over. At the noise of the thing, how exciting! As a friend, she headed towards the seat. It is time to learn what we have been promised since the day this conference began. I ask you all to quickly finish up here and return to the auditorium where you'll be presented with the final truth you have all been waiting for, the last step that will help you to acquire the master key to riches. How exciting! I would now like to reveal the methods by which one may take possession of one's own mind. I begin with a quotation from a man who proved the truth of this statement by astonishing achievements. Mr. Carnegie not only acquired more material riches than he needed, but he acquired also the other 11 riches and the more important of the 12 riches of all. And those who knew him best, who worked with him most closely, say that his most outstanding trait of the character consisted of the fact that he took all possession of his own mind at an early age and never gave up any portion of its right to think of his own thoughts. What an achievement, or what a blessing it would be if every person could truthfully say, I'm the master of my fate, I'm the captain of my soul. The Creator probably intended it to be so. If it had been intended otherwise, humans would not have been limited solely to the right of control over but one power, the power of one's own thoughts. We go through life searching for freedom of body and mind, yet mostly never find it. Why? The Creator provided the means by which people may be free and gave everyone access to these means, and also inspired everyone with impelling motives for the attainment of freedom. Why then do we go through life imprisoned in a jail of our own making? When the key to the door is so easily within their reach, the jail of poverty, the jail of ill health, the jail of fear, the jail of ignorance, the desire for freedom in body and mind is universal desire among all people, but few ever attain it, because most who search for it look everywhere except the one and only source from which it may come, within their own minds. The desire for riches is also a universal desire, but most never come within the sight of the real riches of life, because they do not recognize that all such riches begin within their own minds. The mechanism of the mind is a profound system of organized power which can be released only by one means, and that is by strict self-discipline. The mind that is properly disciplined and directed to definite ends is an irresistible power that recognizes no such reality as permanent defeat. It organizes defeat and converts it into victory, makes stepping stones of stumbling blocks, it beckons to a star, and uses the forces of the universe to carry it with an easy grasp of its every desire. And the person who masters himself through self-discipline can never be mastered by others. Self-discipline is one of the 12 riches, but it is much more. It is an important prerequisite for attainment of all riches, including freedom of body and mind, power and fame, and all the material things that we call wealth. It is the sole means by which one may focus the mind upon the objective of the definite major purpose, until the law of cosmic habit force takes over the pattern of that purpose and begins to translate it into its material equivalent. It is the key to the volitional power of the will and the emotions of the heart. It is the means by which these two may be mastered and balanced one against the other and directed to definite ends in accurate thinking. It is the directing force of the maintenance of a definite major purpose. It is a source of all persistence and means by which one develop the habit of carrying through his plans and purposes a power with which all the thoughts, habits are patterned and sustained until they are taken over by the law of cosmic habit force and carried out to their logical climax. It is the means by which one may take full and complete control of one's mind and direct it to whatever end one will desire. It is indispensable in all leadership. And it is the power through which one may make of his conscience a cooperative and guiding state of the conspirator. It is the policeman who clears the mind for the expression of faith by the mastery of all fears. It clears the mind of the expression of imagination and creative vision. It does away with indecision and doubt. It helps one create and sustain to prosperity consciousness that is essential for the accumulation of material riches, and the health consciousness necessary for the maintenance of social physical health. Also, it operates entirely through the functioning system of the mind. Therefore, let us examine the system so that we may understand the factors of which it consists, the 10 factors of mechanism of thought. The mind operates through 10 factors, some of which operate automatically while others must be directed through voluntary effort. Self-discipline is the sole means of this direction. Infinite intelligence, the source of all power of thought which operates automatically, be it may be organized or directed to definite ends through definiteness of purpose. Infinite intelligence may be likened to a great reservoir of water that overflows continuously, its branches flowing in small streams in many directions and giving life to all vegetation and all living things. That portion of the stream which gives life to human supplies us also with the power of thought. And the brain may be likened to a water spigot. While the water flowing through the spigot represents infinite intelligence, the brain does not generate the power of thought. It merely receives that power from infinite intelligence and applies it to whatever ends the individual desires. And remember, the privileges of the control and the direction of thought is the only prerogative over which individual has been given complete control. It may be used to build or it may be used to destroy. One may give a direction through definiteness of purpose, or one may neglect to do so as one chooses. The exercise of this great privilege is attained solely by self-discipline, the conscious mind. The individual functions through two departments. One is the conscious section of the mind, the other subconscious. It is the opinion of psychologists that these two sections are comparable to an iceberg, the visible portion above the water line representing the conscious section, the invisible portion below the water line representing the subconscious section. That is obvious that the conscious section of the mind, that portion with which we consciously embody to be done on the power of thought, is but a small portion of the whole, consisting of more than 1/5 of the valuable mind power. The subconscious section of the mind operates automatically. It carries on all the necessary functions of connection with the building and maintenance of the physical body, keeps the heart beating to circulate the blood, assimilate the food through the perfect system of chemistry, and delivers the food in liquid and form throughout the body, removes bone of cells and vessels and between cells, removes bacteria with they are deleterious to health and creates new physical beings by the blending of the cells of protoplasm contributed by the male female of living organisms. These and many other essential functions are performed by the subconscious section of the mind, in addition to which it serves as a connecting link between conscious and infinite intelligence. It may be linked to the spigot of the conscious mind, through which more thought power may be turned on, or it may be likened to a rich garden, a spot where may be planted and germinated the seed of any desired idea. The importance of your conscious section of the mind may be estimated by recognition of the fact that it is the only means of voluntary approach of infinite intelligence. Therefore, it is the medium by which all prayers are conveyed and all powers, all answers to prayers are received. It is a medium that translates one's measure purpose into life equivalent, a process which consists entirely in guidance of the individual and the proper use of the natural means of attaining the object of his desire. The subconscious section of the mind acts upon impulses of thought, carrying on to the logical conclusion all thoughts which are definitely shaped by the conscious mind. But it gives reference to thoughts inspired by emotional feelings, such as emotional of fear, emotion of faith, necessity for self-discipline as a means of providing subconscious mind with only those thoughts or desires which lead to the attainment of whatever one wishes. The subconscious section of the mind gives preference also to the dominating thoughts of the mind, those thoughts which one creates by the repetition of ideas and desires. This fact explains the importance of adopting a major purpose and necessity of fixing that purpose through self-discipline as a dominating thought of the mind. 3. Faculty of the willpower. The power of the will is the boss of all departments of the mind. It has the power to modify, change the balance. All thinking habits, its decisions are finally irrevocable except by itself. It is the power that puts the emotions of the heart under control and is subject to direction only by self-discipline. In this connection, it may be likened to a chairman of the board of directors whose decisions are final. It takes its order from the conscious mind but recognizes no other authority. The faculty of reason. This is the presiding judge of the conscious section of the mind, which may pass judgment on all ideas, plans, desires, and it will do so if it is directed by self-discipline, but its decision can be set aside by the power of the will or modified by the power of emotion. When the will does not interfere, let us here take note of the fact that all accurate thinking requires the cooperation of the faculty of reason as well as requirement, which not more than one person in every 10,000 respects. This explains why there are so few accurate thinkers. Most so-called thinking is the work of the emotions without the guiding influence of self-discipline, without relationship to either the power of the will or the faculty of reason. The faculty of the emotions, this is the source of most of the actions of the mind, the seat of the most of the thoughts released by the conscious section of the mind. The emotions are tricky and undependable and may be very dangerous if they are not modified by the faculty of reason in the direction of the faculty of the will. However, the faculty of the emotion is not to be contained because of its undependability, for it is the source of all enthusiasm, imagination, creative vision, and it may be directed by self-discipline to the development of these essential of individual achievement. The direction may be given by modification of the emotions through the faculties of the will and the reason. Accurate thinking is not possible without complete mastery of the emotions. Mastery is attained by placing the emotions under the control of the will, thus preparing them for direction to whatever ends the will may dictate, modifying them when necessary through the faculty of reason. The accurate thinker has no opinions and makes no decision which have not been submitted to and passed upon by the faculties of the will and the reason. He uses his emotions to inspire the creation of ideas through his imagination, but refines his idea through his will and reason before his final acceptance. This is self-discipline of the highest order. The procedure is simple, but it's not easy to follow, and it's never followed except by the accurate thinker who moves on his own personal initiative. The more important of the 12 virtues, such as positive mental attitude, harmony in human relationship, freedom from fear, the hope of achievement, the capacity for faith, an open mind on all subjects, and sound physical health are attainable only by the strict direction and control of all the emotions. This does not mean that the emotion should be suppressed, but they must be controlled and directed to definite ends. The emotions may be likened to steam in a boiler. The power of which consists in its release and direction through the mechanism of an engine. Uncontrolled steam has no power, and though it may be controlled, it must be released through the governor, which is the mechanical device corresponding to self-discipline in connection with the control and release of emotional power. The emotions which are most important and most dangerous are emotion of sex, emotion of love, emotion of fear. These are the emotions which produce major portions of human activities. The emotion of love and sex are creative. When controlled and directed, they inspire one with imagination, creative vision of tremendous proportion. If they are not controlled and directed, they may lead one to indulge in destructive follies. This is the faculty of imagination. This is the workshop wherein all desires, ideas, plans, purposes are shaped and fashioned together with the means of attaining them. Through organized use of the self-discipline, the imagination may be developed to the status of creative vision. But the faculty of imagination, like the faculty of the emotions, is tricky and undependable. If it is not controlled and directed by self-discipline, without control, it often dissipates the power of thought in useless and practical destructive activities which need not be here mentioned in detail. And controlled imagination is the stuff that the dreams are made of, and control of the imagination begins with the adoption of definite of purpose based on definite plan. The control is completed by strict habits of self-discipline, which give definite direction to the faculty of the emotions. For the power of emotions, the power that inspires the imagination to action, the faculty of the conscious. The conscious is the moral guide of the mind, and its major purpose is that of modifying the individual's aims and purposes so that they harmonize with the moral law of nature and of mankind. The conscious is a twin brother of the faculty of reason, in that it gives discrimination and guidance to the reason. When reason is in doubt, the conscious functions as a cooperative guide only so long as it is respected and followed. If it is neglected or its mandates are rejected, it finally becomes a conspirator instead of a guide, and often volunteers to justify our most destructive habits. Thus, the dual nature of the conscious makes it necessary for one to direct it through strict self-discipline. The sixth sense, this is the broadcasting station of the mind through which one automatically sends and receives a vibration of thought, commonly known as telepathy. It is the medium through which all thought impulses known as the hunches are received, and it is closely related to, or perhaps it may be a part of, the subconscious section of the mind. The sixth sense is the medium through which creative vision operates. It is the medium through which all basically new ideas are revealed, and it is a major asset of the mind of all who are recognized as geniuses. The memory, this is the filing cabinet of the brain where all thoughts, impulses, all experiences are not sufficient. That which the brain through the five physical senses is stored, and it may be the filing cabinet of all impulses of thought which reach the mind through the sixth sense, although all psychologists do not agree as to this. The memory is strictly and undependable unless it is organized and directed with self-discipline. The five physical senses, these are the physical arms of the brain through which it contacts the external world and acquires information from. The physical senses are not reliable, and therefore they need constant self-discipline. Under the kind of intense emotional activity, the senses become confused and unreliable. By the simplest sort of the legerdemain, the five physical senses may be deceived, and they are deceived daily by the common experiences of life under the emotion of fear. The physical senses which have no existence except the faculty of imagination. There is no fact of life which they will not and do not exaggerate or distort with fear prevails. And thus we have briefly described the 10 factors which enter into all mental activities of humans, but we have supplied enough information concerning the mechanism of the mind to indicate clearly the necessity of self-discipline in their manipulation and use. Self-discipline is attained by the control of thought habits, and the term self-discipline here refers only to the power of thought, because all discipline of self must take place in the mind, although its effects may deal with the functions of the physical body, the power of thought. You are where you are and what you are because of your habits of thought. Let us say that again, so that you really absorb this information. You are where you are and where you are because what you are because of your habits of thought. Your habits of thought are the only circumstances of your life over which you have complete control, which is the most profound of all the facts of your life, because it clearly proves that your Creator recognized the necessity of this great prerogative privilege. Otherwise, He would not have made it the sole circumstance over which we have been given exclusive control. Further evidence of the Creator's desire to give humans the unchangeable right of control over our thought habits has been clearly revealed through the law of cosmic habit rules, the medium by which thought habits are fixed and made permanent, so that habit become automatic and operate without voluntary effort. For the present, I am interested only in the calling attention to the fact that the Creator of the marvelous mechanism known as a brain ingeniously provided it with a device by which all thought habits are taken over and given automatic expression. Self-discipline is a principle by which one may voluntarily shape the patterns of thought to harmonize with one's aims and purposes. This privilege carries with it the heavy responsibility, because it is the one privilege that determines more than all other the position of life with which each person shall occupy. If this privilege is neglected by one's failure to voluntarily form habits designed to lead to the attainment of definite things, then the circumstances of life which are beyond one's control will do their job, and what an extremely poor job it often becomes. Everyone is a bundle of habits. Some are of our own making, while others are involuntary. They are made by fears and doubts, worries and anxiety, greed and superstition, and envy and hatred. Self-discipline is the only means by which one's habits of thought may be controlled and directed until they are taken over and given automatic expression of the law of cosmic habit force. Ponder this thought carefully, but it is the key to your mental, physical, and spiritual destiny. You can make your thoughts, habits to order, and they will carry you to the attainment of any desired goal within your reach. Or you can allow the uncontrollable circumstances of your life to make your thought habits for you, and they will carry you irresistibly into failure. You can keep your mind trained on that which you desire from life and get just that. Or you can feed it on thoughts of which you do not desire, and it will and as unerringly bring you just that. Your thought habits evolve from the food that your mind dwells upon. This is as certain as the night following day. Turn on the full powers of your will and take complete control of your own mind. It is your mind. It was given to you as a servant to carry out your desires, and no one may enter it or influence it in the slightest degree without your consent or cooperation. What a profound fact this is. Remember this: when the circumstances over which you appear to have no control begin to move in and aggravate you, remember it. When fear and doubt and worry begin to park themselves in the spare bedroom of your mind, remember it. When you fear, the poverty begins to park itself in the space of your mind. It should be filled with prosperity consciousness. And remember too that this is self-discipline, the one and only method by which anyone may take full possession of one's own mind. You are not a worm made to crawl in the dust of the earth. If you were, you would have been equipped with physical means by which you could have been crawled on your belly instead of walking on your two legs. Your physical body was designed to enable you to stand and to walk and to think your way to the highest attainment which you are capable of conceiving. Why be contented with less? Why should you insult your Creator by indifference or neglect in the use of the most priceless gift, the power of your own mind? The potential powers of the human mind are beyond comprehension, and one of the greatest mysteries which endure through the ages consists in our neglect of to recognize and to use these powers as a means of shaping our own earthly destiny. The 20 great powers of the human mind. The mind has been cleverly provided with a gateway to approach to infinite intelligence through the subconscious section of the mind, and this gateway has been so arranged that it can be opened for voluntary use for bad preparation through the state of mind known as faith. Let me list these powers for you in great detail. The mind has been provided with the faculty of imagining in maybe fashioned ways and means of translating hope and purpose into physical realities. It has been provided with stimulative capacity of desire and enthusiasm with which one's plans and purposes may be given action. It has been provided with the power of the will through which both plan and purpose may be sustained indefinitely. It has been given the capacity of faith through which the will and reasoning faculty may be subdued while the entire machinery of the brain is turned over to the guiding force of infinite intelligence, and it has been prepared through a sixth sense for direct connection with other minds under the mastermind principle, from which it may add to its own power and the stimulative force of other minds, which serve so effectively to stimulate the imagination. It has been given the capacity to reason through which the facts and theories may be combined into hypotheses, ideas, and plans. It has been given the power to project itself into other minds through what is known as telepathy. It has been given the power of deduction by which it may foretell the future of the analysis of the past. The capacity explains why the philosopher looks backward in order to see future. It has been provided with the means of selection, modification, and control of the nature of its thoughts, thereby giving the privilege of building one's own character to order to fit and desired pattern, and the power to determine the kind of thoughts which shall dominate the mind. It has been provided with a marvelous filing system for receiving, recalling every thought it is expressed through what is known as a memory, and this is marvelous system automatically classifies and files related thoughts in which a manner that the recall of one particular thought leads to the recall of associated thoughts. It has been provided with the power of emotion through which it can stimulate at will the body for any desired action. It has been given the power of to function secretly and silently, thereby ensuring privacy of thought under all circumstances. It has been unlimited capacity to receive, organize, store, and express knowledge on all subjects in both the fields of physics and metaphysics, the outer world and the inner world. It has the power to aid the maintenance of sound physical health, and apparently it is the sole source of cure of all physical ills, all other sources being merely contributory, and it maintains a perfect repair system for the upkeep of the physical body, a system that works automatically. It maintains and automatically operates a marvelous system of chemistry through which it converts food into a suitable combinations for the maintenance and repair of the body. It automatically operates the heart through which the bloodstream distributes food to every portion of the body and removes all waste materials and worn out cells of the body. It has the power of self-discipline through which it can form and desire habit and maintain it until it's taken over by the law of cosmic habit force and is given automatic expression. It is a common meeting ground wherein we may commune with infinite intelligence through prayer or any form of express desire or definiteness of purpose by the simple purposes of opening the gateway of approach through the subconscious section of the mind by faith. It is the sole producer of every idea, every living machine, and every mechanical invention created for the convenience in the business of living in a material world. It is the sole source of all happiness and all misery, of both the poverty riches of every nature whatsoever, and it devotes its energies to the expression of which of these that dominates the mind through the power of thought. It is the source of all human relations and all forms of intercourse between men, the builder of friendship and the creator of enemies, according to the manner in which it is directed. It has the power to resist and defend itself against the external circumstances and conditions, although it cannot always control them. It has no limitation within reasons, save only those which the individual accept through lack of faith. Truly, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. I could continue to give you at least 20 more examples of how amazingly powerful the mind is, and yet despite all this astounding power of mind, the great majority of the people make no attempt to take control of their mind, and they suffer themselves to become cowed by fears and difficulties which do not exist save in their own imaginations of folly or fear. The arch enemy of success is fear. We fear poverty in the midst of an overabundance of riches. We fear ill health despite the ingenious system nature has provided, which is a physical body is automatically maintained, quiet, repaired, and kept in working order. We fear criticism where there are no critics, save only those which we set up in our minds through the negative use of our imagination. We fear the loss of love of friends and relatives, although we know well enough that our own conduct may be sufficient to maintain the love through the ordinary circumstances of human relationship. We fear old age, whereas we should accept it as a medium of greater wisdom and understanding. We fear the loss of liberty, although we know that liberty is a matter of harmonious relationship with others. We fear death, when we know it is inevitable, therefore beyond our control. We fear failure, not recognizing that every failure carries with it the seed of equivalent benefit. And we fear the lightning until Franklin and Edison and a few other rare individuals who dare to take possession of their own minds prove that lightning is a form of physical energy which can be harnessed and used for the benefit of the mankind. Instead of opening our minds for the guidance of infinite intelligence through faith, we close our minds tightly, and every conceivable shade and a tree of self-imposed limitation rests upon unnecessary fears. We know that human master every other living creature on this earth, yet we fail to look about us and learn from birds of the air and beasts of the jungle that even the dumb animals have been wisely provided with food and all the necessities of their existence through the universal plan which makes all fears groundless and foolish. We complain of lack of opportunity and cry out against those who dare to take possession of their own minds, not recognizing that everyone who has a sound mind has the right and the power to attain every material thing he needs or can use. We fear the discomfort of physical pain, not recognizing that pain is a universal language through which we are warned of evils and dangers that need correction. Because of our fears, we go to the Creator with prayers over petty details which we could and should settle for ourselves, then give up and lose faith. When we do not get the results we ask for, not recognizing our duty to offer prayers of thanks for the bountiful blessings which we have provided through the power of our minds. We talk in three sermons about sin, failing to recognize that the greatest of all sin is that of the loss of faith in an all-wise Creator who has provided his children with more blessings than any earthly parent ever thinks of providing for his children. We convert the revelations of inventions into the tools of destruction through what we politely call war, then cry out in protest when the law of compensation pays us off with famine and business depression. We abuse the power of the mind in ways too numerous to mention because we do not recognize that this power can be harnessed through self-discipline and used to serve our needs. Thus, we all go all the way through life eating the husk and throwing away the kernels of plenty. Some of the known facts concerning the nature of thought. Before leaving the analysis of self-discipline, which deals entirely with the mechanism of thought, let me briefly describe some of the known facts and habits of thought in order that we may acquire the art of accurate thinking. All thought, whether it's positive, negative, good, bad, accurate, inaccurate, tends to pose itself in its physical equivalent, and it does so by inspiring one the tightest plans and means of achieving desire and through logical and natural means. After thought on any subject becomes a habit and has taken over the law of cosmic habit, forces the subconscious section of the mind process to carry it out to its logical conclusion through the aid of whatever natural media that may be available. It may not be literally true that thoughts are things, but it is true that thoughts create all things, and the things that create are striking duplicates of the thought patterns from which they are fashioned. It is believed that every thought one releases starts with an unending series of vibration with which one has who releases the thought will later be compelled to contend that we are all but a physical reflection of the thought put into motion and crystallized into physical forms of infinite intelligence. It is also the belief of many that the energy with which we think is but a projected minute portion of infinite intelligence appropriated from the universal supply through the equivalent of the brain. No thought contrary to this belief has yet been proved sound. Through the application of self-discipline, thought can be influenced, controlled, and directed through transmutation of a desired end by the development of the voluntary habits suitable for the attainment of any given end. The power of thought has control over every cell of the body, carries on all repairs and replacements of injured and dead cells, stimulates their growth, influences the action of all organs of the body, and helps them to function by habit and orderliness, and assists in fighting diseases through what we commonly call body resistance. These functions are carried on automatically, but many of them may be stimulated by voluntary aid. All of man's achievement begin in the form of thought, organized into plans, aims, purposes, and expressed in terms of physical action. All action is inspired by one or more of the 9 basic motives. The entire power of the mind operates through 2 sections of the mind, the conscious, subconscious. The conscious section is under the control of individuals. Subconscious is infinite intelligence, serves as a medium of communication between infinite intelligence and conscious mind. Sixth sense is under the control of the subconscious section of the mind and is function automatically in certain fixed fundamentals, but may be influenced to function the carrying out of the instructions of the conscious mind. Both the conscious and subconscious sections of the mind function in response to fixed habits, adjusting themselves to whatever thought habits the individual may establish, whether the habits are voluntary or involuntary. The majority of all thoughts released by the individual are inaccurate because they are inspired by personal opinions which are arrived at without the examination of facts, or because of bias, prejudice, fear, and the result of emotional excitement in which the faculty of the reason has been given little or no opportunity to modify them rationally. The first step to accurate thinking is that of separating facts from faction and hearsay evidence. The second step is that of separating facts into 2 classes, important and unimportant. An important fact is that any fact that can be used to attain the object of one's major purpose, or any minor purpose leading to one's major purpose. All other facts are relatively unimportant. The average person spends life dealing with inferences based upon unreliable sources of information and unimportant facts. Therefore, he or she seldom comes within sight of that form of self-discipline that demands facts and distinguishes the difference between important and unimportant facts. Desire based on a definite motive is the beginning of all voluntary thought action associated with individual achievement. The presence in the mind of any intense desire tends to stimulate the faculty of the imagination with the purpose of creating ways and means of attaining the object of the desire. If the desire is continuously held in the mind, it is picked up by the subconscious section of the mind and automatically carried out to its logic conclusion. There are some of the more important of the known facts concerning the greatest of all mysteries, the mystery of the human thought, and they indicate clearly that accurate thinking is attainable only to the strictest habits of self-discipline. The woman how may one begin the development of self-discipline? Good question. It might well begin with concentration upon a major definite purpose. Nothing great has ever been achieved without the power of concentration. How self-discipline may be applied? The following charts. One presents a complete description of 10 factors by which the power of thought is expressed. 6 of these factors are subject to control through self-discipline. The faculty of the will, faculty of emotion, faculty of reason, faculty of the imagination, faculty of the conscious, faculty of the memory. The remaining 4 factors act independently and they are not subject to voluntary control except that the 5 physical senses may be influenced and directed for the formation of voluntary habits. Wow. Observe that the subconscious section of the mind has access to all the departments of the mind but is not under the control of any. Infinite intelligence, the source of all power of thought, all facts of knowledge, available through the subconscious section of the mind only. Subconscious section of the mind, the connecting link between the mind and infinite intelligence. Below is shown all departments of the mind with the 3 sources of thought stimuli at bottom of the chart. Faculty of the willpower, boss of the mind. Faculty of the reason, master of all opinion and judgment. Faculty of emotions, the seat of most actions on the mind. Faculty of imagination, builder of all plans. Faculty of conscious, moral guide to the mind. The 3 sources of thought which require the greatest amount of self-discipline are telepathy, the sixth sense, or broadcasting station of the brain, connecting with other brains. The 5 senses, sight, sound, taste, smell, touch. They become reliable only through strict self-discipline. Memory is storehouse of all the thoughts and senses, impressions, filling cabinet of thy brain. Not always dependable, must be under strict discipline at all times. Subconscious mind theoretically is connecting the link between mind and infinite intelligence. Ego, seat of willpower. The supreme code all the other departments of the mind, and its seat of power is in the subconscious mind. Facility of the emotions, seat of action, power of the mind. Facility of reason, seat of judgment and opinions. Facility of imagination, origin of ideas and plans. Conscious, the moral side of the mind. Memory, the keeper of the records of the mind. Charts of the 6 departments of the mind over which self-discipline can be maintained, numbered in order of their relative importance. In chart 2, we have presented a perspective picture which reveals the 6 departments of the mind over which self-discipline may be easily maintained. The departments have been numbered in order of their relative importance, although it is impossible for anyone to say definitely which is more important of each department, for each is an essential factor in the expression of thought. We have been given no choice but to place ego, seat of the willpower, in the first position because of the power it may control on all the other departments, and it has been properly named Supreme Court of the Mind, whose decisions are final and not subject to appeal of the High Court. The faculty of emotions takes second place, since it is well known that most people are ruled by the emotions, so therefore they rank next to the Supreme Court. Faculty of reason takes third place in importance, since it is modifying influence through which emotional action may be prepared for self-research. The well-balanced mind is the mind which represents a compromise between the faculty of emotion and faculty of reason. Such a compromise is usually brought about by the power of the Supreme Court, the faculty of the will. The faculty of the will sometimes resides with the emotions, and at other times it throws its influence on the side of the faculty of reason, but it always has the last word, and whichever side is supposed is the winning side of all controversies between reason and emotion. What an ingenious system this is. The faculty of imagination has been given fourth place, since it is the department which creates ideas, plans, and ways and means of attaining the desired objects, all of which are inspired by the faculty of emotions or faculty of the will. We might say that the faculty of imagination serves the mind as a ways and means committee but it often acts in its own account and goes off on tours of fantastic exploration in places where there is no legitimate business. In connection with the faculty of the will of these self-inspired tools, the imagination organizes a full consent, cooperation, and the urge of the emotion, which is the main reason why all desires which originate in the faculty of the emotion must be closely scrutinized by the faculty of reason, countermanded if need be by the faculty of the will. When the emotions and imagination get out from under the supervision of reason and the control of the will, there is a couple of mischievous schoolboys who have decided to play hockey from school and wind up in hole, swimming pool hole and the neighbor's watermelon patch. There is no form of mischief which would these two may not get into. Therefore, they require more self-discipline than all other faculties of the mind combined. The other two departments are conscious and the memory are necessary agents of the mind, and while both are important, they belong to at the end of the list where they have been assigned. The subconscious section of the mind has been given the position above all the other 6 departments of the mind because it is connecting link between the conscious and infinite intelligence and the medium through which all departments of the mind receive the power of thought. The subconscious section of the mind is not subject to control, it is subject to influence by means here described. It acts on its own accord and voluntarily, although its action may be speeded up by intensifying the emotion or applying the power of the will is a highly considerable form. A burning desire behind a major purpose may stimulate the action subconscious mind and speed up its operation. How the subconscious relates to the parts of the mind. Relationship between the subconscious section of the mind and 6 other departments of the mind indicated on chart 2 is similar in many respects to that of the farmer and the law of nature through which his crops are grown. The farmer has certain fixed duties to perform, such as preparing the soil, planting the seed for the right season, and keep the weeds out, after which his work is finished. From there on, nature takes over, germinates the seeds, develops it to maturity, and yields a crop. The conscious section of the mind may be compared to the farmer in that it prepares the way by the formulation of plan and purposes into the direction of the faculty of will it has. If this work is done properly and a clear picture of that which is desired is created, the subconscious takes over the picture, draws upon the power of infinite intelligence for the intelligence needed for the translation of the picture is get the information necessary. Present into the conscious section of the mind, the form of practical plan of procedure. Unlike the laws of nature, which germinate seeds and produce a crop for the farmer within a definite predetermined length of time, the subconscious takes over the seeds of ideas or purpose submitted to it and fixes it on its own time for the submission of the plan for the attainment. Power of will expressed in terms of burning desire is the one medium by which the action of subconscious may be speeded up. Thus, by taking full possession of one's own mind, by exercising power of the will, one comes into possession of the power of stupendous proportions and the act of the mastering the power of the will so that it may be directed to the attainment of any desired and is self-discipline of the highest order. Control of the will requires persistence, faith, and definiteness of purpose. In the fields of sales, for example, it is a fact well known to all master salespeople that the persistent salespeople head the list in sales production. In some fields of selling, such as that of life insurance, persistence is the asset of major importance to a salesperson. The persistence in selling or any other calling is a matter of strict self-discipline. In the field of advertising, the same will apply. The most successful advertisers carry on the unyielding persistence, repeating their efforts month after month, year after year, with never-ending creativity and the professional advertising skills have convincing evidence that this is the only policy which will produce satisfactory results. The pioneer who settled in America when this country was only a vast wilderness of the primitive beings of wild animals demonstrated that can be accomplished when the power is applied with persistence at a legendary university of the country. After the pioneers had established the semblance of civilized society, George Washington and his little army of underfed, half-clothed, and recruit soldiers proved once more that willpower applied with persistence is unbeatable, and the pioneer of American industry Such is great. And before Thomas Edison and Bill Company, she gave us another demonstration of the benefits of the willpower backed by persistence, the spinal, and all other of the types who have made great contributions to the American way of life, had self-discipline, and they attended through the power of the will backed with persistence. And Carnegie's entire career